Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 5 on our Salesforce Sales Cloud training. And tonight, we're going to be looking into application of product knowledge. This is a very comprehensive training for tonight because it covers everything you probably need to know for the Sales Cloud. Not just that, we are going to look into some case study of, creating a Sales Cloud environment for Blackforce. So if you've missed or if you've paid less attention in previous classes, I would encourage you to pay more attention to this class, because some of the things you would see or listen to in this class could be some of the questions you're going to see in your certification exams. So please try as much as possible to pay attention, and not just that, to understand the concepts of Sales Cloud. Without wasting much time, let's go into what we're going to be learning tonight. So tonight, we're going to be going through the end-to-end sales process, from leads to opportunity to quote to close to order. So basically, you guys already know the end-to-end, you guys already know the lead management, the account management, the opportunity management, but we're going to include the quote and the close to order, okay? So basically, it's just like what you should be thinking about if you are consulting as a Salesforce Sales Cloud consultant, okay? Remember, this training is not for you to be trained as a sales agent. Rather, this training is for you to understand the features that are in place when you are using Salesforce to configure a sales environment for a business. Okay. In addition, when it's appropriate to include a custom application development versus a third-party application development. Like I told you yesterday, most of the time, if you had to use or develop an application that would take more time to maintain, then you're better off looking into the App Exchange to create the application or to create the process. You don't necessarily have to build from scratch, okay? Please watch the App Builder training. It's a foundation to this point, okay? I wouldn't elaborate much on this point because the App Builder training already gave you an idea of when to build and when to install the app or plugins in the App Exchange market. So describe the appropriate use of cases, account, opportunity teams, and the likes. We had a good understanding of this during our account. I'll just show you one or two things regarding the opportunity teams, account teams, and the visibility. But then again, you already have a very good understanding of this. In addition to that, we went through territory management and forecasting yesterday. So one of the key things we're going to be learning today is this bullet point, which is the product, price book, orders, and the likes, and the multi-currency and how to implement it within the Salesforce Hub. Without wasting much time, I like to work with bullets, and these are the bullets of the things we're going to be covering tonight. So hand-to-hand sales process, product, opportunity product families, price books and its use case, product schedules, what are they and how and why do we have them, contract quotes, orders and other products, multi-currencies, advanced currency management, and a typical case study for us to go into the org and try to play around with one or two things, okay? So let's go and let's get started. When you are working within a sales environment, especially if you are given or you're working within a multinational environment, sales environment, one of the biggest, or I would say the biggest challenge you'll ever face is currencies. How do you manage currencies? How do you update currencies? How do you ensure that the opportunity currency or the price which you agreed with a customer today, it's not going to affect the bottom line of the business tomorrow? So it's very important you know how advanced currency management works and how you can update it within Salesforce. So what are multi-currencies and how does it work? But before then, I think let's talk about the multi-currencies, then we'll go into the sales process. So multi-currencies exist in Salesforce because Salesforce expects their cloud to be able to work in different locations. They expect businesses to come from different locations. And that means they need to accommodate, they need to be prepared for those instances, okay? So the use of multi-currencies has to do with amounts. So when we're talking about multi-currencies, know that we are trying to manage accounts, okay? I think my slide kind of like caught a little bit. This was not meant to be the first one, but let's carry on. I will go to this, finish multi-currency, and go into the sales process. So now, when it comes to multi-currency, the only thing you want to use when it comes to currency is amounts. So where can you get amounts in Salesforce? Typically, you can get amount in opportunities, meaning that only opportunities would give you the it's quite like a tautology. Only opportunity will give you the opportunity to use currency. However, there are other objects which you might use currency. Okay. One thing you need to know is the amount. When you use currency, you are trying to deal with a particular figure. Okay. So you cannot just use currency in all objects. There are use cases, and the opportunity object is one of the use case of currency. When you want to use currency in Salesforce, Salesforce gives you a default currency, which is the corporate currency, meaning that if you set up your Salesforce based on your geographical location, you can have what are called the corporate currency. However, users in other locations can set up their own currency if the admin has enabled the currencies in the system. So what that means is that if the admin has enabled multiple currencies in the system, then a user can go to their settings and change their own currency locale. Then you can see a conversion of their currency towards the corporate, relative to the corporate currency. Okay, remember, you can create the currency. However, if you stop servicing a particular location, you cannot delete that currency. What you need to do is deactivate the currency. So the currency can be active. However, if the company does not do business in that location anymore, then what the admin needs to do is deactivate that currency, because you cannot delete any currency you've created. In addition to that, whenever you create a currency, you need to associate it with a date. Okay. The standard one is without the dates. Okay. The default one is you just set a default currency, and automatically Salesforce will convert currencies based on the location and vice versa. However, if you enable advanced currency, it gives you a dated exchange rate, meaning that the currency which you set at the particular time based on the date is when the conversion will be made. So you can set for future dates. If you project dollars to increase by X amount of percentage in the future, you can set, okay, tonight, the dollar amount to Canadian dollar is 1.3. However, because tomorrow I expect the Canadian to be, the price to be 1.4, then I can say the start date. Okay, okay, this is interesting. Sorry, I thought I wasn't recording. Yeah, I'm recording. So the start date would be based on the date you've specified. So it's very important to know what the dated exchange rate is for active currencies in the hub. And there are some implications. Implications of multiple currencies are you cannot revert the enablement of multiple currency. So if you start multiple currency in your system today, the only thing you can do is just deactivate those currency. You cannot disable the use of multiple currencies after activating them. Okay? So I'm going to go into the next slide, which is a bit of a mistake here to continue my multi-currency. So now, if you are like very sensitive to price, if your business is very sensitive to price, then you're better off including an API that would feed you the exchange rate for the currency, meaning that you're not really required to be updating the currencies all the time, because that could be a tedious job. Not just that, it could be very delicate. Imagine you made a mistake and they close an opportunity that is worth $1 million. With a single mistake, you can corrupt your record, and it could be an implication for your forecasting. So remember, exchange rates can be API integration can be used for your forex exchange rate instead of you having to manually do that, and this would automatically change in real time. Okay. Also remember, you cannot delete currency, and you can only make it inactive after creation. So that's pretty much what you need to know when it comes to multi-currencies and advanced currency. There is a lot of use cases for that, but you wouldn't appreciate it until you are working in a multi-currency environment. Okay, now let's take a pause and find out, why are we doing multi-currencies? What exactly is the purpose of having a multi-currency? The whole purpose of having a multi-currency is because you're selling something. You are selling something. Now, you've seen the lead management, you've seen the opportunity management. Now is the time to see the end-to-end flow of how you get from lead to account, to opportunity, to products and the likes. And that's what the core or Salesforce refers to as the end-to-end sales process in Salesforce. So let's go to the end-to-end sales process in Salesforce. When it comes to sales, the first thing you want to find out is who your customers are. So when you want to sell, you want to understand how to generate your customer. This process is called the lead generation. I want to generate a lead. I want to find a prospect. I want to find a potential customer. When you relate with the lead and the lead responds to your emails, to your phone call, to your whatever it is you're using to communicate, then you qualify that lead. Once you qualify the lead, you might have some scoring methods or some processes in place to qualify a lead. The bottom line is you have to qualify a lead based on the business process. Then after qualifying, you convert, you create an opportunity optionally on conversion, and a quote is created and an order is placed. But remember, the sales process can vary. And that's where we have sales processes in Salesforce. Sales processes could vary based on the type of product you're selling. For instance, at Blackforce, we could be selling corporate businesses whereby we're implementing Salesforce for a corporate organization. And we also have training. We have the free training. We have the premium training. We have corporate businesses. We have implementation of Salesforce. We have support of Salesforce products. So all those processes shouldn't have a common part. And the only way to segment those processes is by defining what they call a sales process. So a sales process consists of different stages of opportunity, okay? Different stages of opportunity, and based on those stages, you can quantify, you can select different parameters or guidance for success. Now, let's kind of like imagine a typical sales process for an hypothetical business. First is the lead is being generated. Now, a lead has been generated and we expect it to convert, right? When we convert that lead, we create an opportunity. By default, opportunity will be open. Remember, we have the open, we have and closed, and we have the pipeline, right? So by default, we have the opportunity as open. Now, after opportunity opens, you carry on the sales process. Some people will have prospecting stage, some people will have negotiating stage, but the bottom line is once you open an opportunity, you need to sell. So now you're selling. You're selling meaning that your negotiation, you're following the sales process for the particular opportunity you've created. Then we go into generation of quotes. What are quotes? We're going to go into what quotes are shortly. However, from a business point of view, quotes are you indicating, oh, this guy or this business is likely to buy my product. Let's send this business a quote. Maybe I want to install, I want to supply generator to the business. And maybe you want 100 quantities of that generator. And maybe you want to provide a discount for X number of generators supply. You will create a quote. So once you create a quote, you submit that quote. Okay? You submit the quote and perhaps the customer says, okay, I'm interested. Then the customer accepts the quote. Once the customer accepts the quote, then you can say, okay, opportunity stage close one. If the customer rejected the quote and the business does not improve or there is no relationship with the customer after that, then opportunity close one. Once opportunity is closed lost. Once opportunity is closed lost, that's the end of that sales process. Maybe you can sell at some point later on, that's fine. But according to a simple process, that's the end of that sales process. Okay? But if it is closed won, then contract should be created. And once a contract is created, you can possibly activate a contract if the customer indicates that they are willing to pay the contract. But remember, this can be automated. You don't have to look at this is what process is all about. Process does not mean that you should be doing things manually. Process means this is how we want things to work in our business. And then you have to create flows, process builders, workflow rules that would automate this process. So you don't necessarily have to go and create a contract. You can actually build a process builder that creates a contract whenever opportunity is closed won. Or whenever quote is in negotiation, you can create a quote from the opportunity, automation. So all these processes I've stated, virtually most of them could be automated. Maybe the only time you have to do things manually is when you are moving things to negotiation, because it's a manual process. You have to call the client, find out if they want this and the likes. Okay? The bottom line is after contract has been activated, because contract can be created and be put in draft. However, after contract has been activated, then you can create an order. And obviously, once you create an order, you can create an invoice and the customer will pay. Okay? This is just a simple process, but there could be more to it based on the business you're working with. Remember, the purpose of the lecture, or I would say training, is to introduce you to some things Salesforce offers out of the box. So you don't have to go and create them yourself, or you don't have to tell the client, we cannot do that. You should know them. Okay? So let's go on. Let's elaborate on the process in the end-to-end process. The first is lead generation. What is the lead generation? Lead can be generated through marketing campaigns. You can even upload lead through data import wizard or data loader. If you have a bunch of leads somewhere, then you qualify the lead, which I explained earlier. Qualification could be based on scoring. What are the metrics you're looking at? What are the key fields within the lead that will determine whether this lead is a good lead or not? Then obviously you convert the lead. There is a process in place that you could actually create an Apex trigger that would automatically convert leads that meet a scoring criteria. But obviously, if you're very, very delicate with the way you qualify your lead, with the way you convert your lead, you might want to do this manually. But if you have a bunch of leads somewhere, I wouldn't recommend you do this manually. Look at the purpose of you as a Salesforce sales consultant is Sales Cloud Consultant is to improve the sales process. You're going to provide the business with what Salesforce offers, and you as a consultant will improve that process using Flow, Process Builder, Workflow, Approval Process, and everything Salesforce has in place. So please, anytime you see a business doing things manually, see it as an opportunity for improvement, and you propose that to the business, even at work. If you see that they've given you an autonomous task whereby you have to do things manually, why not kind of like ask them, is it possible for me to find a criteria and see the differences in those criteria and create a flow for those autonomous tasks you're doing at work? It's always an opportunity for an improvement, okay? Now, once you get the opportunity, because after conversion, you're creating an opportunity, right? Opportunity is the deal the sales rep is working on. So basically, opportunity is like, I want to close, I want to make a sale. Always remember that there is a path for opportunity. There is a path for that opportunity, okay? Obviously, you guys already know this, but it can be a visual representation, meaning that I can see the path and I can see the guidance for success. For instance, if a sales opportunity is at negotiation, you can propose to the business that if a sales opportunity is at negotiation, I want to be able to see guidance for success. Let me kind of like, I don't know if it's enabled in some of the opportunities. So if you have, let's say, an opportunity, so what that means is that guidance for success can be shown somewhere here, okay? So let me see if it goes back. Okay, it's not going back, but you can create your own custom path and show the guidance for success when you're creating it. Let me quickly show you that because I don't want to miss that. I'm pretty sure some of you might be aware of it, but for the sake of those that are not aware of it, you can always create a guidance for success and key fields that should show whenever you have a path, okay? So if I'm creating another path for opportunity, for instance, sample path for opportunity, and I have the opportunity object. I don't have any record type. I'm using stage. So when you are creating it, this is what they call the guidance for success. Okay, this is what we have. Then you can make sure client replies email. If client hasn't responded, call. Those are guidance for success that the sales rep will see in the path. And key fields. What are the key fields to update? You can show those key fields here. And whenever it is in this stage, you know that some fields can be updated instantly. So it's just a visual representation of what the sales rep is currently going through. And remember, it can be close won or close lost, as you already know. If it is close won, that means probability is 100%. If it is close lost, it's 0%. Okay, let's go further. We have what we refer to as products and opportunity products. For instance, in your opportunity, you have the products. What are products? Products are used to store information about goods or services sold by a company. Okay? The products are used to store information. They're not really where you put the price and stuff like that. You have another object where you store price. But products specifically, they're used to store information. Okay, I'm selling Blackforce. I'm selling professional training. What are the features of professional training? You put those fields in the products. In addition to that, you can use product to track the items that are being sold. So for instance, you want to sell something. The information is tracked using product, meaning that you cannot get lost in the process. Salesforce gives you that opportunity to make things digitally enabled. By digitally enabled, you store data and you don't get lost with those information that you're storing. Remember, you can add products to the opportunity. You can add the product to the opportunity. And when the product is added to the opportunity, it is called the opportunity product. It is called the opportunity product. You don't get to see it visually, but that is what it is called, right? And you could also call it the opportunity line item, which is a master detail relationship with the opportunity. Okay? It is a master detail relationship with the opportunity, meaning that I can use a roll-up summary. I can use a roll-up summary in the opportunity product and find out the total number of products in an opportunity. Okay? So the roll-up summary will be a good candidate to find out the number of products in an opportunity. And then, how do you set the price in the product? You set the price in the product using what Salesforce referred to as the price books. So the price books are just different ways you can set up the price of a product. The good thing about the price book is that it has what they call the standard price. The standard price is the price which the business wants to use for any currency, any location, any type of sales process, and the likes. However, you could also have a custom price book. A custom price book gives you the opportunity to vary the price. Let's say we are expanding to US, to Europe, to Africa. You don't want Africans to pay $2,000. You don't want Europe to pay 2,000 Canadian dollars. It might not make business sense. Then you use a custom price book to set different prices for those geographical locations. Okay, so you can sell the same products with different prices, and Salesforce helps you to manage this automatically. It helps you to manage this automatically, so you don't have to constantly think, what is the exchange rate? What is the price for Europe? What is the price for Africa? Your sales agent will be able to look into the price book and see it by themselves. So now, you've seen the purpose of the products and the opportunity products. There's also what they call the product schedule. What is the product schedule? The product schedules determine the payments and the delivery method for an opportunity product, okay, that are being paid or delivered over time. So for instance, what is a schedule? Schedule is a timeline you've created to do something. I want to buy a Ferrari in 12 months. Schedule is I want to save up X amount of money over 12 months so I can afford a product. That's a schedule. But in Salesforce, it's somewhat different. Schedule is determined by, okay, the payment and a delivery cycle. I want to make a payment or I want to deliver a product over a period of time. That's what a product schedule is. Now, there are two types, majorly two types, but three types in Salesforce. The first two are obvious too, while the last one is the default state, meaning that you pay for the product, you get the service. That's it, done, business done. However, there is what they call the quantity schedule. The quantity schedule is used to determine when a product is delivered in a different period. So what does that mean? It means that I want to pay for a product, but I am not going to get all the products immediately. That means I am going to deliver that product over a different timeline. There's also what they call the revenue schedule. The revenue schedule is when you deliver the product to the user, but the payment is paid over time, like pay later feature. Okay, so understand the difference between the quantity schedule and the revenue schedule. If you have a subscription model, if you have something that is time-based in delivery, then you know that you need to implement a schedule. If you want a subscription in your business, perhaps you might want to implement revenue schedule, whichever way it is. If it is a case of you delivering one time and the customer pays over time, then revenue schedule might be ideal. If it's a case of you delivering it is a case of you delivering quantity over a period of time, like a magazine subscription, annual magazine subscription. Every month you deliver a magazine for the user. That's a monthly subscription for a product to be delivered. Okay, that's quantity schedule. The quantity is 12, but it's going to be delivered over a period of time, one every month. Okay, revenue, the customer will pay a subsection of the total price every month. Okay, and default is when they just pay everything at once. There's no differences between the schedule. Okay, so now more on product schedules. I think this is just a replica slide. So you've seen the product schedule and you've seen how it works. Let's go back to the price book, which I explain later on the products. What are price book according to Salesforce? You could work in any enterprise, any business, and price book could just be where you go look up a price. But with Salesforce, the price book is associated to a product. A product can only have one price book. Like a product can have as many price book, okay? But it can only be, one price book can only be active on a particular order, right? So you can create different, you can attach a price book, but you can take that price book off and attach a different price book. You can take another price book off and attach another different price book. But the first one you get is what they call the standard price book, okay? The standard price book is what the product would be if there are no variation in prices. If you do not want variation in prices, then just use a standard price book. However, if you want variation in prices, if you've enabled custom, if you've enabled multi-currency management, then you might want to possibly use a custom price book. Okay? Now, when you have a price book, you can add products to the price book. The products are, the reason why you add product to the price book is because not all products will be available in a particular price book. So you can determine to say, this product is available on this price book, this product is available on this price book, and the likes, okay? So remember, price book is where you store the price you want to sell that product. Price book is where you store the price you want to sell in that product. The standard price book is the default price book if there are not other prices for that product. So if there are no variation in the price book, then use a standard price book. If there are variation, then you want to use the custom price book, okay? Further to price book. Price book must be included when adding a product to an opportunity. So if you add a product to an opportunity, you don't have a price book, then the amount field will just be what the opportunity is all about, right? But once you add a price book to that opportunity, the products, accumulation of the prices on the product will be changing based on the price book. So if you don't have a product and everything, then you are just manually doing this. However, if you have a product and a price book to this opportunity, then things will be changing based on the price book. Okay, so have that at the back of your mind. If price book is changed, all products are deleted from the opportunity, meaning that if you add a price book to this product, for instance, if it changes, then all the products in that price book will, for this opportunity, will be deleted. And it's like you starting all over again, or whichever price book is now associated to the opportunity, then when you add a product, it will automatically calculate, okay? However, the amount of the opportunity remains. So if you set this amount, and this initially add a price book, which is controlling this amount, if you delete that price book, the amount will remain, okay? Now, price book can be archived if no longer in use. So if you're no longer interested in using a price book, you can just archive that price book and use a new price book and make that active. Okay? Remember, we are following a sales process. I'm introducing you to the features of the sales process. So everything I've said so far are just introduction to what Salesforce gives you out of the box to manage your sales process. We've talked about price books. We've talked about products. We've talked about opportunity products. We've talked about currency management. Now we have quotes. What happens, or when do you get to quotes? You get to quotes when the customer is interested in your products. When things move further in your opportunity stage, you should be creating a quote. If it is in, obviously, maybe qualification or negotiation, something like that, you should be creating a quote, okay? But actually there's a stage for quotes. So if it is here and it is marked as current stage, or if it is here, it's marked as current stage, then you create a quote automatically, okay? Based on the sales process. You don't have to manually create it. But then again, if you want to, you can manually create a quote. Quote is in a related session of the opportunity. We're going to see that shortly. Now, explaining quote once more. Quotes represent the proposed price or prices of a company's product and service. What does that mean? This is the price you have agreed to sell a particular product or service to the customer. So it's an agreed price, meaning that you can provide a discount. I think there should be a discount on the page layout of either product or opportunity or the likes. That means you can provide a discount on a quote. So it is possible for you to override the price book prices, but you don't override it like as such. You override it through quotes if you don't want it to affect other customers and the likes. You override it through quotes because you can create order. You can create order, and this order will be associated to that quote. You can create contract, and it will be associated to the quote. So you don't want to override things from the price book point of view, but you want to override things from the customer opportunity point of view. Okay? So now you have that, but quotes can be created from the product, and it can also be created from the opportunity. Remember that. So I can go to product and create a quote. I can also go to the opportunity and create a quote. And once you create a quote, you have the opportunity to sync a quote. What does that mean? Syncing a quote meaning that whenever you're changing things, it will be affecting the amount, it will be affecting the expected revenue, it will be affecting the products and the opportunity line items. So if you change the opportunity product, it will affect the quotes. If you adjust the price book, it will go back and affect the quotes. Okay? So remember, quote syncing means that any changes I'm making in the quote is going down through the entire flow, product, opportunities, and the likes. And once you sync a quote, you cannot really, whatever changes you're making will be affecting, okay? So remember that you can have multiple quotes for a particular opportunity, but only one can be used. Obviously, maybe you're negotiating, they send a quote and they say, okay, I don't want that quote, I want something different. They send another quote, I don't want that quote, I want something different, and the likes, okay? So that's negotiation part of a quote. Now, you have further thing to quotes, like I said, you can create a PDF. So if you want to make something more binding, obviously you create a contract. But with the quote phase, you can also create a PDF, and you can send that PDF to the customer or attach it to the quote record, which we're probably going to see when we're demonstrating this. Okay, you attach the quotes to you can attach the PDF to the quote record, or you can send that quote to the customer directly upon creation. So quote has a PDF feature that you can use. Okay, so it's also possible for you to sync a quote, and if it fails, chances are the quote must probably be inactive in an archive state, or maybe it is locked somewhere. Okay, so remember that not all quotes can be synced. If it is not active, then it's not going to be synced. So remember, this is just giving you the possible features you can use to develop or design a good sales end-to-end process. It's not up to you to be creative about it based on the features you have. Remember, you've done flow, you've done process builder, you've done workflow, you've done app builder. You know how to create objects. You know how to use page layouts. You know how to use record type. Everything you've learned till date is what makes you a sales consultant, not this particular class, but utilization of every knowledge area. It is called application of product knowledge. That means Sales Cloud product knowledge. Okay? Then we have what they call the contracts. Again, these are common English terms. However, it means something in Salesforce, and not just that, Salesforce has some out-of-the-box features. For instance, what are contracts? You know that contracts are just agreements you have, but there are more to it than the agreement you have. For instance, you can automate contracts. When you activate a contract, you can send that contract to the customer. Once the customer approves the contract, then you can start creating an order. Those are the things you can create with contract. Yes, contract is a written agreement. That's the English language. But in Salesforce, there is what they call other settings, whereby you can automate things. So remember, the whole objective is for you to know that we have what they call the contract, we have what they call the quotes. What you do with those objects and the features is now based on the business requirements. Okay? Furthermore, you can track the history of a contract. So if something changes, if someone comes into the system and realize that they've changed this contract, they've manipulated this contract, you can track the history. Okay? Once you track the history, then you can see where things are changing. And also when a contract is about to expire, you can send an email. Okay? You can send an email to the contract owner telling them that the contract is about to expire. Are they willing to renew that contract? Do you get what I mean? So it's more like, okay, Salesforce gives you that settings. Whether you enable that settings is now up to you, but Salesforce gives you the settings. Okay? And I think that this is the last side of the end-to-end process. Orders. What is an order? An order is an agreement between a company and a customer to deliver products or provide services with a known quantity, price, and dates. Orders are typically used to track requests. So basically, what that means is that I have accepted the quote, I have signed a contract, then I need to create an order. That's all it means. I have accepted the quote, I have signed a contract, then you create an order. But should you be creating this manually? Maybe not. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to use a flow to create a contract. Remember, everything you can do manually, most likely you can do automatically in Salesforce. Salesforce gives you the tools. It's up to you as a consultant to use your knowledge area coupled with the features in Salesforce to build a robust sales process for a business. Okay, so let's go into the order management, which is pretty much what are the features you have in an order. When you make an order, you have a quantity, you have a price, you have total amount, those kind of stuff. It's common sense, right? It's something that it just happens. But then again, you need to know that you have them in place and you can use them to manage your order. One of the most interesting things about order is what they call order reduction. Order reduction happens when there is a mistake in an order. Let's say you're engaging a customer, you create a contract, you sign, and everything happens. But then again, there was a mistake. Then we have what they call whether you increase the order or you reduce the order. But most cases, it's usually an order reduction. You can reduce with a negative value. That means you're manipulating the products. Or you can change to a zero quantity. Bottom line, this can only be done if the order has not been activated. If the order is activated, you cannot do this. If it's in draft, yes, you can make changes. But once activated, you probably need to clone that order to make changes to that order. Okay, you clone the order and you can reduce that order, or you can set it as 0 quantity, or you can even give it a negative quantity. But remember, this can be done if the admin enables that feature. Okay, so remember, orders can be cloned, orders can be worked on, but when you clone an order, the currency cannot be changed. Okay, the currency of when you clone an order cannot be changed, meaning that it's probably better for you to start all over again if you made a mistake, unless obviously you're still within the same region, the same geographical region, or the same currency. Then it is fine to have that. Okay, so remember, once you clone an order, you cannot change the currency. Once it's activated, you can only change things in order if it's in draft. If it's activated, that's it. Okay, and remember, only one price book can be selected per order. So you cannot have multiple price books selected when you're working on an order. Think about it. You cannot have different prices selected. How would you be able to find out the real price for that order? You get what I mean? So remember, only one price book can be selected. Quantity and times unit price will give you the total order in the order record. And remember, these are just objects and functionalities Salesforce has built for you out of the box. You can always create your own functionality. You can always create your own objects to do all this. Okay, so this is I would say, the theoretical side of things. Let's just kind of see a typical case study. Okay, a case study in the sense that, let's say we are trying to expand business in Blackforce and we want to go outside of Canada. That means we want to operate in Europe and want to operate in Africa. So you are a Salesforce consultant. You've been asked to develop a sales process for Blackforce. We want you to come up with a seamless process that will make things effective from a business point of view. Blackforce are students and they have corporate users. Corporates are those that we consult for to implement Salesforce. Students are those that are subscribing to our training program. Okay, we also have different sales teams, and different sales teams should be working on students. A different sales team should be working on corporate business. In addition to that, we want automation in place. Quotes should be created. Contracts should be created for corporate businesses when they are engaged. And we need an email alert every time a subscription is about to expire for a student. Think about it. What are the things you would consider based on the application of the product knowledge you've been given to? Those are the things that makes you a Sales Cloud consultant, because information is useless if it is not applied. You need to apply this knowledge in order to create something good within Salesforce. Sometimes I just imagine the amount we're paying for the license and the opportunities we have to use Salesforce to optimize business. This is so huge that we're not even using 5% of what we're paying for with Salesforce. So I'm going to take a pause here to find out if you guys have any questions based on what I've said so far before I go into the org to demonstrate one or two things for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause, find out from you guys if there's any questions based on everything I've said, anything you want to clarify with the sales process. Remember, the sales process is about how you sell to the business, okay? This is a typical sales process. Lead, opportunity open, but you can change all this, okay? So I'm going to take a pause. Please raise your hand if you have any questions regarding what we've said so far, so I can quickly address them before we go into the org, okay? Give me 1 minute. Shini, unmute yourself and speak, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Babatope. Based on the description of what a product is, and using Blackforce as a case study, would you consider the subscriptions that Blackforce offers to students as a product? That's one question. And then secondly, would you consider a service contract to be a product?
That's a good question. And to be fair, it depends on what the architecture design is at Blackforce, okay? So service contract could be a product, and the product could actually be a product, but from an implementation point of view, if you had to do this from a sales without an architect getting involved, if you were the consultant, I would recommend you use Blackforce subscription as a product, like the standard, the professional, and the basic. They are products. They are product. Then you can also create service contracts for those products. It is possible to have those two things in place. Actually, that's the best option because you can expire contracts, right? You can expire contract. But remember, Salesforce also gives you other features such as product schedule. The schedules can be used complementing the products, meaning that you don't probably need a service contract. But because of what the business model at Blackforce, perhaps you might want to use service contract for support processes. So it is possible to have both of them. However, the schedule will be doing something different and the service contract will be doing something different. Service contract is specifically for managing support, while products and schedule products is specific for managing the money. Sales and service, they're two different things when it comes to business. It's now up to you to determine where it's applicable to use certain objects. Okay? Does that answer your question? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay? Yes. Babs Ken, please.
Yeah, good evening, boss. How are you? Good evening, everyone. So my question is, the congruence, the relationship between the Sales Cloud and the CPQ that is pretty common in the industry, right? I know that you've touched on some of them now. How do they sync up in terms of being able to look at, basically, I'm trying to understand if is one a necessary, maybe not sufficient condition for the other, or they're interwoven in a way that it's the baseline of knowing Sales Cloud is as important also into CPQ. I know that's probably stretching into maybe one of the things you've not touched on yet.
Oh, yeah. So CPQ is a different ball game when it comes to Salesforce, right? What we'll discuss so far is just price book, right? Which is like a lighter version of CPQ. But when it comes to CPQ, you literally detail in terms of what prices are, how you configure the price, how you do the quotations and the likes. Okay. As you can see, I did not even touch CPQ because I know it's a different knowledge area by itself. However, if your business or if the business you're consulting for is price, there's a sensitivity in price and it involves a lot of quotation in order to reach an agreement, then out of the box Sales Cloud might not be effective. You might want to upgrade or implement a CPQ for the business instead of having the typical price book, because price book is just basic, right? But the CPQ is probably much effective than this. Okay, this is for a very low scale, price sensitive business. But when it comes to active business that is constantly negotiating and you use some if else logic for the price and based on different criteria, then obviously you want to upgrade into the CPQ service or feature in Salesforce. Okay. Matilda, please.
Okay. Hi. My question is about if I have a use case where I want a situation where it gets to a point in the opportunity process, just like it spoke about the quote object, that a contract is sent to the customer to sign. And upon signing the contract, I need Salesforce to automatically complete the opportunity process and maybe create an order for that customer. So can I achieve this with an out-of-the-box solution, or it needs some form of customization, coding, or something.
So you're saying if the opportunity is closed won, you want to create a contract?
No, just before it's closed won, just one of the stages in the opportunity requires the contract to be sent to a customer. And once the customer signs, it returns to Salesforce, and the opportunity should be automatically closed won. Yeah.
Yeah, you just use can it be done automatically? I don't think so. You have to use a flow. You have to use a flow or something like that. It's not something you get out of the box. Although obviously you can use Process Builder and the likes, but it's something you have to configure yourself. Okay.
So what are the ability for it to like listen to the signing of the contract? Because that's like going out of Salesforce for a moment.
No, you have to integrate that contract with approval process. There's what they call approval process. And within that approval process, inside that email, once a link has been clicked, you can trigger an approval process. You can use a process builder to call an approval process. And the approval process can be triggered directly from an email. So you can, if you state in that email that reply this email to confirm this contract or this quote and stuff like that. If the person responded via email or they click on something in that email, you can trigger an approval process. Okay. And based on that approval process, you can have a process builder or whatever in place that calls an approval or vice versa. And you can start doing your magic.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. So let's go into the, if there are no other questions, we can continue by just going into the hands-on org and just demonstrate one or two things based on what we've discussed so far. So I'm just going to go into the sales app. And the first thing is, okay, let's go back to this case study just for a refresher. We might not implement everything, but we can just be guiding ourselves based on what we try to do. So currency exchange for products and services provided by Blackforce, meaning that I want to have a different currency for Blackforce students based on a particular product or services we provide. So what does that mean? It means that I should be able to enable multi-currency. I go to setup and I go to the company information. Remember, company information is where you can do the currency locale, which is currently default to English Canada because of the headquarters. Okay, the headquarters determines where the currency locale is, and you can change it. Okay, you go to edit, and you can change the country to, let's say, USA or something like that, and you change the default locale to English United States and English New York. That's fine. You save. You change the USD. United States USD. Where is it? Is it at the top? English United States. Okay, so that's how you typically would change the locale. Okay, so now it is New York, it is United States, and it is USD. Okay, that's how you create it. Okay, but there is more to that. How do you enable the currency? Remember, you haven't activated the multiple currencies. Okay, you go to edit and you activate the multiple currency. Okay, and obviously you need to read the implications of doing that. Once you activate the multiple currency, you will see what this currency setup menu comes up. Okay, the currency setup menu button comes up. You click on it, and you can start creating different currency. But remember, if you create another currency, you'll be required to have the exchange for that currency. Save. Now that you have it, if you go to opportunities, it's not going to happen immediately. Okay, you still have your USD. Okay, You still have your USD. If I have my locale change, let's change this locale to Canadian dollars, save. Go back to the opportunities. It's still showing USD. Okay. And obviously we had to refresh for it to show the parenthetical exchange based on the exchange rates we've given. So the exchange for that guy would be in parentheses, okay? And you can enable parenthetical currency conversion is enabled. You can disable this. And once you disable this, I think it should take this off. Okay, it's going to take it off. That means it's not going to be giving the exchange for the user locale. It's just going to be giving you this. So if you want the user to always see their own currency based on the exchange, then you just have to enable this. Okay. Now, this is the exchange. As you can see, it is fixed. Great Britain or euros. I don't know what the exchange is, but I'm just giving. So now you can select which of them should be the corporate currency by just clicking on change currency and change it to Canadian. Okay. If you want to deactivate, you just click on deactivate and it's going to deactivate the Canadian dollars. Okay. That's how to enable dynamic currency change and deactivate the currency. As you can see, once you create that currency, once you create the exchange, you cannot delete that. It's gone, right? You click on new, you can create more, but you can edit the rates, which is fine. However, this is what I refer to as static exchange, meaning that what you put is what it's going to be using all the time. If you want it to be dated, meaning that I want it to be 1.2 today, 1.5 tomorrow, 1.9 tomorrow, back to 1.2 next week, you have to enable dated currency. And once you enable dated currency, you have the opportunity to change or manage currency based on the date. Okay, so now if you click on new exchange, you will have to define the start date of that exchange, meaning that this exchange is what I'm given, but it should only start on 24th of June. Do you get? So it's not going to kick in immediately right now because there won't be any changes within the org. But when it comes to 24th of June, this will start changing. Okay. And you can always see the range of those dates, and you can go to a particular rate for a particular range, okay? But remember, dated exchange rate is powerful because it gives you the ability to set an exchange rate based on a particular date. So if you close an opportunity today at 1.3 to Canadian dollars, and if you close an opportunity tomorrow at 1.4, you would not be shortchanging the business. You will literally be closing based on the exchange rates at that particular date. Remember, okay? Regardless of the opportunity stage. So now we have this, which is pretty much basic. Let's go into the opportunity. So let's go back to this. It says lead generation process and scoring for qualification. I don't think we have much logic in terms of the lead generation for Blackforce. However, if I go to the lead, I think we did something like the if-else statement, but let's just say we have a field called total score, and we're saying two decimal, no, that's fine. Next. We save, okay? So we have a total score, which we use internally to qualify a lead based on the profile of that lead. So let's say we have a lead that has a university degree. Let's say in our lead, we have a field called university degree. Or if you go to Blackforce, I think we have a field that we're asking, are you currently employed? So we have a field called qualification, and we have a field called current job. Okay, so these two stuffs are indicator of whether a lead is qualified or not, if we have to be very rigid in our process. But we're not rigid in Blackforce. We accept people, we don't discriminate, but we accept people, and we don't qualify a lead, we just accept and assume that any potential lead that comes into the system is qualified. But in reality, we should be saying, okay, this better, because better is coming from LinkedIn, better is odds, we give better a total score of 5, right? And we can write an apex, okay? We can write an apex or write a flow that converts a lead. So if you want to write, obviously, you guys are not developer, but if you want to write an apex, you can just kind of like Google apex converts lead Salesforce. And you can just get a sample code that converts a lead, and Salesforce gives you how to convert a lead. Okay? And you can check this. This is just for conversion of a lead, but obviously you can check a particular score and convert that lead based on flow. I think you can convert the lead based on flow, but this is just Apex. Don't let us get into programming. I'll go back to this and I'll assume that this is a typical process. But let's say we want to have a different process. I would like to do that in the opportunity, okay? This is a different process and we're good with that. I'm going to convert this lead because it has a point of 5. We convert it, okay? That's a typical Blackforce process. Now, we want to create an account or a contact. Because we don't have this customer in place before, we can create, a new contact and a new account. And we can create a new opportunity behind the scene. So right now, the opportunity you get to create is very basic, which is okay, but we can say anytime a lead is converted, we should create an opportunity that would give us a much, information about the lead, the amount based on what? Based on the program they enrolled into. If they show interest in Salesforce developer, then we can program our opportunity to be 2.5. If they show interest in admin, we should program our opportunity to 250. So that stuff should happen behind the scene. Okay, it should happen behind the scene, but it should be coming from the lead information you've given. So remember, you don't necessarily have to click on opportunity to create an opportunity immediately. You can just create a flow that would automatically create an opportunity whenever a lead is converted or whenever an account is created. Okay, but then again, you don't want to do that whenever an account is created. You want to do that whenever a lead is converted, because imagine you having to create an account and creating opportunities for every account you create. That would be very childish in terms of business process. So now we have this, but this is not the process we want in Blackforce. We have students and we have trainees. We have students and we have corporate businesses. That means we need to have a different process for our students, and we have a different process for our trainees. Let's see if we have opportunity type. In opportunity type, I will map. Okay, this is what we have here. But in our leads, I can say when converting, map the type to opportunity, okay? To opportunity type. So I will go to lead. Let me see if we have a type in lead. We don't have a type in lead. I can create a lead type. Okay, this is how you design a process. I'm just kind of like solving it without even thinking much. This is what I'll be considering when it comes to me solving the problem, right? I'm just solving it free flow without thinking much. However, you guys should think before you solve a problem. Don't just freestyle it. Think about it and solve it. So I'm saying if the lead is a student, corporate, then we should have different types to our opportunity. Okay? Then I go to the opportunity object and I say, in a type of opportunity, I want to add student and corporate, okay? New, students, corporate. So now that I've done that, I need to go back to my lead objects. According to Salesforce, you can map your leads, okay? So remember, everything you've learned is what we're using. We're just saying that whenever a lead is being converted, the type of that lead should be it's not a new field. If it was a new field, it will be mapped. So let's go back and actually create a new field for opportunity. Okay. So you create a custom field. So let's go back to this and refresh and see if the options will come up. Type, refresh, opportunity, lead type, okay? So type is now mapped to lead type. Remember, you can map the standard to the custom, and you can map the custom to the custom, okay? Custom lead, custom opportunity. Standard lead, standard custom opportunity. But when it's like this, if it doesn't come up here, then you know that you have to map a custom field to it, okay? You save. So next time we convert a lead, and the lead has a lead type, of students, save. We convert this lead the lead type. Where's the lead type? The lead type is student, okay? So that's how we get the information from the lead directly into the opportunity. So now we have that. Now, this is an interesting stuff because it gives us the opportunity to control paths, okay? We can control paths based on the stages, okay? The sales stage, the sales process for the opportunity is the sales process for the opportunity is controlled by the stage. However, you can now control the pick list based on whether it is a student or it is a corporate business. So we go to our sales process. This is a sales where's the sales process? This is a sales process, okay? We go to new. Before that, perhaps we want to create record type, okay? But let's go on. And we say, okay, in our sales process, we don't need this process for students. qualification, close won or close lost, save. Okay, new, corporate. And we want all this in corporate business because it follows the normal sales process. So now that you have this, what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to have a different sales process for different business segments we have in Blackforce. Then we go to record types. We create a new record type and we'll call it a student. And it's associated to the student. You can make it active, but don't make it available to all profiles just for the sake of it, because it can be very hard to undo. And you select a page layout for this particular record type. Remember, the purpose of selecting the record type and the page layout is to be able to differentiate the kind of fields you get on this page. So if you're selecting a different page layout, you can change the field. If you're dealing with a corporate business, you might not need a lot of things. If you're dealing with a student, you might not need a lot of fields. So the record types helps you to select a particular page layout for this opportunity. In addition to that, if it's the student, I don't want corporate to even appear, okay, based on the lead type or based on the type. Then you can even do this on the lead as well. So this is a sales process we are putting in place. We are ensuring that anytime is a student, only things associated to the student to appear, okay? Corporate. I keep spelling corporate wrong. Okay. Again, I'm selecting opportunity layout, but ideally, you should be selecting a page layout for corporate business and a page layout for student business, okay? We should actually do that because it defeats the whole purpose of you doing this if you don't do that. Going back again, I need to change this to corporate. Okay, so now I've created a corporate. Going back to the layout, I create a new layout. I pull that layout from the default opportunity layout and I call it student layout. This is what you already know. However, this is you solving a problem for a client, okay? So now I have this. What do I want to do? Maybe just take a few things out because I don't need to know that is a lead type of student because by default, if it is a student, then the lead type will be student. We know that based on our record type approach. After you create that layout, you can create another layout called a corporate layout, which is based off opportunity layouts. And again, I don't want the type. And maybe I don't want, what else can I not want? I don't know, but let's just go with the flow, save. After you create the page layout, you have to do the page layout assignment. The page layout assignment would now help you to assign pages based on a particular record type, okay? So right now, everything is corporate, student, opportunity layout, but I can change it and say, select this, and whenever it is corporate, use corporate layout. Select this. Whenever it is student, use student layout. Save. That's how you do the page layout assignment. This is probably one of your first project or the second project. You have that. Then we go to parts. And we go to part settings. Then we create a new part based on the sales process. Student sales part, okay? We have student opportunity as the object, student as a record type, stage as our process, okay? As you can see, you get a student, qualify the student, close one when they sign up, close lost if they did not sign up for the cohorts. Find out if student gets a Telegram link. Find out if student is active in group. Fields to update. You can actually create a new field called active and all this kind of stuff. Let's see opportunity score. Is it good stuff? That's a good stuff, okay? Next, activate the part, finish. Then we create another part for corporate sales part, okay? Corporate sales part. And we have, again, the opportunity objects. The record type is corporate, and the stage is what we're using to. Opportunity score doesn't matter anyway because, yeah, actually you can just put it there. Then this one would be, is corporate established? Is a corporate business established? You want that, okay? You want to find out. Save, activate, finish. Now, you've developed a simple sales process. What else do you need to do? Let's carry on. Let's kind of like see how that works. We go to new, and we have this type of record type that asks us whether it's a student, and we fill in the information, student opportunity, okay? And let's use an account name called student account. And save, close date, let's just say 30, stage is prospecting, save. Similarly, let's create corporate opportunity. Corporate opportunity. Corporate opportunity. Okay. Corporate account. Save. Close date 30. Prospecting, save. Okay. So now you can see what's happening. Refresh. Okay. You can see the corporate. And if you go back, student opportunity, you can see the student opportunity part. So this is the sales process. This is the guidance for success. As you can see, the guidance for success is just telling you that, okay, have they joined the Telegram link? So anyone that is working on this, if it is here, they'll be checking this kind of question. They'll be asking themselves this kind of question at the sales rep. Okay, so this is that. Let's go into, we want to go into the teams, okay? Teams and visibility. Yes, the other day you learned about the teams and how do you set up the teams. First, you go to account teams. And you enable account teams. Okay, now that you've enabled account teams, I want different agents to be working on a particular team, okay? A particular account, okay? If you want to even make it more complex, you can do territory management, but we don't want to do that. We did that yesterday, okay? You can set the team roles for the accounts, and this for the account teams. If you want to set other relationships, let's say you want contact roles relationship, you can also set the contact role relationship if you enable accounts to multiple contacts and the likes. So this is where you set or make changes to the roles you get to see for the contacts, okay? And if you want to set the roles for cases, you can also do that. So now that we have that, I can go to my settings and I will go to my default account teams and I'll just add users to my account teams, okay? Before I actually do that, let me create a user. Okay, create a user, a new user. And this user, should I give it, let me give it admin. No, let me give it sales profile, doesn't matter. But more importantly, make sure that the user can log in into the Salesforce. Okay, Blackboard demo is used. Remember, we can only have a unique username in the system, an entire Salesforce org. So now that we have that, I can go back to my settings for my profile, and I just set a default account teams, okay? You had a default account teams, which is a user you just created, and you give it access. So remember, this access you're given is based on what the sharing settings is in the system. So if the sharing settings is private, it's public read. So it's kind of like pointless to say you're giving someone read-only access if the person already has access anyways. Do you get what I mean? But you can control other objects based on the sharing settings, such that if it's controlled by parents, then this permission given to the user would reflect on other objects, okay? But as you can see, contact is controlled by parents, other is controlled by parents and the likes. So let's just leave it that way. So I'm not going to change this. Okay, he's saying must be less. So what that means is that you cannot say this is read only and this is read write. That's what I just explained. I said if this is read write, you cannot give this guy read only because this guy automatically gets read write anyways. Why do you want to give it read only from the team membership point of view? You cannot give a team a more restrictive access if the sharing settings has already opened up the access, okay? So now that's the account team, and based on the account team, you can now start seeing visibility of the account opportunity and the likes, okay? But we're not going to demo that, but I expect the user to start seeing things based on ability to see the account team. Let me refresh the accounts. You should be able to see account teams, okay? So this is account team. And if you want to add a default account team, you automatically add it and it automatically comes here, okay? And the role of that guy automatically appears here. So now you've seen the accounts. Let's go and create opportunity for this student. Oh, sorry. Let's go and create products for this student, okay? I go and before I create products, let's actually do something in the products because we need to have product before we start adding product opportunity, right? I'll go to all products and I can see these products. There's what I call the product family. So these are different products you have in the system. Let's go to products and go to product family and say, okay, we have this, but I want it to be, what kind of product family can you have? Product family are just like a group of products, right? how you segregate products. So you can just say, I want to have training. I want to have business. Okay. Then once you have that, you can go back to your products and say, I want to create a new product. The product family is training, or make it active. And I'll say basic member. Just say basic 101. And you can select the currency. So what does that mean? It means that if you're in multi-org and multi-currency environments, you need to create the same products 3 times for all the currencies you have, okay? So basic member in Canadian dollars, okay? Basic member in European dollars, in European euro, but not just basic member, basic 101, active is under training, and it is in USD, okay? Then you do, look at, this is a boring side of, you can do this using data loader, okay? That means you can load products into the system using data loader. So you don't have to manually do this, but this is the kind of thing you get, okay? Standard. Again, you create for Canadian dollars. You create for then you do professional. Okay, I'll just make it snappy. In Canadian dollars. In euro, active. And in USD, active. Then I want to do corporate as well, right? But I'll just keep corporate simple, just 1 or 2. So we don't spend much time just creating stuff. Corporate business, active, business in Canadian dollars, corporate business in euro, business active, and corporate business in USD. Business active, okay? So now we've created this. What we need to do now is to go to the price book. The price book is where you put the value, okay? You put the cost of the products. As you can see, this is a price book, right? Before that, let me see if I can bring products and price book to the menu. So I don't have to be looking for them, okay? So I go to products, I go to corporate business, related, price book, and I'm gonna add the price book here, okay? You can list the price for corporate business. This is where it gets really, boring, whereby you list price and all this kind of stuff, but that's fine. You have the standard price, okay? And you go back to product again. Sometimes you might want to be very explicit. Corporate business euro, corporate business this, corporate business that. So you don't just say bunch of corporate businesses. Related, have the standard price. Just put something there and go back. Corporate business, related, add the standard price, I'm just giving it random. I'm not putting much thought to it, okay? And you can also create prices based on different currency. As you can see, I'm just using Canadian dollars, but you can also have different currency for this price, okay? You go to standard professional member, add the price book, which is standard. Go back again, professional member, related, add a standard price, which is anything, just for the sake of time. Products, go to standard member, add a standard price, and you just keep going, okay? Go to products, add a standard price in the related. So now I'm just gonna stop there. Let's go back to add to price book if you want to add, but let's go to, I want to create a custom price book. So go to price book, new. Just say custom standard. If you want to have a custom price book, okay? Standard members, or let's just say training, okay? Active is not standard, it's custom. And let's say business is not standard, it's custom. So based on this, you go to related. This is a custom price book. Then you add products. What is a custom price book for this? This is business, okay? And I'm gonna just add business products to this, next. And I'm gonna say, okay, this is the custom price book for this business. In the funny thing is I did not give the currency, so it's a bit confusing, right? But this is a Canadian currency. I did not create multiple currencies, so it's a bit kind of like confusing. 5,000. Okay, so I've created a custom price book, which is different from the standard price book. Okay, so I can go on and on and on to create a custom price book for the products. Remember, it has to be different location. Okay, I hope this kind of like makes sense to you. Presently, this is what we have for Canadian dollars, but if you had created different location, and if you create a different location, you'll be able to set the prices for those different locations. So what that means is that if I go back to my opportunities, I should be able to add products. But before I add products, I can choose price book. If it's training, which is this, fine. Then I can add products. Okay. Obviously, it's meant to be professional standard product for standard opportunity. So if you want to do the standard, you can just go back and just say student opportunity. We should have created opportunity for maybe they want to be a professional member. That's fine. That's not a problem. You just add it, and this professional member should have been professional card, professional euro, so you can see the difference in prices for those stuff, okay? You add it and you save, okay? You add the quantity, sorry, and you save, okay? So now you've added this quantity, okay? What is 3 times 4522 something? Let me see. 3 times 4522. Okay, can you see the price is now this? Previously, if you had given any amount in that system, it will be that amount. However, because we're now using products, it is now based on the products. And because the stage is prospecting, expected revenue is just 10% of that. If you move the stages to qualification, okay, we haven't done much. Let's go to qualification, an opportunity, and kind of bump it up. Okay? Stage. Qualification is 10%. Let's bump it up to 25%. Okay? When it is in qualification, it should be 25% of the amount, and the expected revenue should kind of like change, okay? Because we have to trigger it again. Let's trigger it again, okay? Okay, the expected revenue has changed to 25%. Okay, and it is based on the products you're adding. So let's add more products. And the products that comes here is based on the price book, okay? So remember, the price book you select will determine the currency to use, and it's going to determine the amount. So the price book is very crucial when you are selecting, let's go to business. Okay, can you see? The amount remains, the product is gone. Okay, then you can add more products and see business. Obviously, this currency should change. Okay, next, put a quantity. Save. So when you have that, it will change automatically. But previously, the amount will remain. But now it has changed based on this. And you can see the number of product there. So that's not all that. We need to create a quote. How do you create a quote? You go to your setup and you put quotes. Then you go to quote settings, you enable quotes. Okay? If you enable quotes, you can add it to the layout. Save. And in the opportunity, you should be able to see quotes. Okay, quote is now coming up. You go and create a new quote. Obviously, opportunity is what you want to sell. Those numbers you see does not mean you're selling them. It's just what you want to sell. Quote name is Sell Student Membership. Okay, expiration date, deadline date, don't sync yet, draft, save. So now you've created a quote, you go to the quote, which is this. The quote line item is based on the opportunity you're selling. No, it's based on the product of the opportunity you're selling. It's automated product, automated process. Okay, so you can determine the process in a quote needs review. In review, approve. When a quote is approved, you can send or you can create, what's it called? You can create an order. You can create a contract before an order. But before that, what can we do with quotes? We can create a PDF, okay? Using a custom template, or we can use the default template in Salesforce. You can change this template if you want, but Salesforce gives us out-of-the-box solution for creating quotes. I can save quotes. I can email the quotes. I can save the quotes. When I save the quotes, it automatically appears in the quotes PDFs. So you can see the history of the quotes, and you can see it in the attachment as well as sending that quote. You can email that quote to your customer, okay? In addition to that, you can add products here from the quotes. Remember I told you, you can add products, save, and it is here. Let's go to the opportunity, refresh. You don't see changes because it is not syncing. However, if you click on Start Sync, syncing quotes will now be making sure that anytime you make changes to the product here, it will sync to the opportunity. And anytime you make the changes in quotes, it will sync to opportunity and vice versa, okay? So now that you have that, there is still what they call orders. So you go to order and you go to other settings. What can you do with orders? You can create orders from a quote. Before you create orders, let's see contracts. Because you have to create a contract before order, right? New. Select the account name student. Who is going to sign from that account? Student, customer, signed by, draft, 12 months, and you can select the price book. Like I said, you can only select one price book, okay? And what else can you select? I think, yeah, that's about it. I think I want the quote. Is that a quote? Contract as accounts and order as account and contract. Okay. Yeah. So you have this contract and you can create order based on this contract. Okay. But make sure that you publish this contract, activate this contract. Once this is activated, then you should be able to create an order and you can start working with the order. Okay. So remember, this is the contract number 100100. Go to order. Okay, the contract has been activated. That means we're good to create an order. Student account, start dates, remember, contract number, drafts, okay? Save. We have this, okay? It's currently drafts. What can we do? Add products. Next, save. One, save, okay? Then you can edit product and the likes, but we can edit products, activate. You cannot add product to an activated contract, okay? You also have what they call the schedules, okay? Enable reduction orders, enable negative quantity, enable zero quantity, enable enhanced commerce. This is where you have schedules, quantity schedules, revenue schedules, and the likes. Enable optional price book, whatever you want to enable, but make sure that you know why you're enabling them, okay? You have that, and automatically, if you go to the order management, you will see bunch of orders, okay? Delivery methods, new delivery methods, how you're going to deliver if it is a product you're delivering. How are you going to deliver them? This is where you specify products deliverable, products delivery method, and it's just a bunch of features that you have. It's up to you to determine I want to use this or not. Let's go to other stuff. Go to payment summaries. You can, I don't think we have any payments yet, so it's not going to happen, but you can have so many other features based on the transactions in the system, okay? So I want to go to this order, and since it's market status, I cannot add new product to it. I can clone it, clone, okay? I clone this order, and remember, currency cannot be changed once cloned, okay? So you don't have the ability to clone the contract, to clone the order. You don't have the ability to change the currency once the order is being cloned. In addition to that, you don't want to clone an order and just activate it immediately because it doesn't make sense. You need to process that order, give it to the right users and the likes, okay? So as you can see, there's so much stuff you can do. It's now up to you to take a step back to find out what exactly is required for this business and how do I want to go about doing it, okay? So don't just use a bunch of stuff, but actually think through. Now, expiration and reminder alert for subscription renewals. So when you have Sorry, I'm looking for something. I go to my setup. I'm looking for other, not other settings. I want, let me see. I want, give me 1 minute. Service contracts, service contracts, contract settings. So with contract settings, you can send contract expiration notice email, and you can track history of contracts. Okay? With this feature, whenever a contract is about to expire, the system would automatically send an email and can track history of that contract. Having that set would give you the history of the contract, okay? And it can start tracking changes made to the contract, okay? Contract history and the likes, okay? That's the end-to-end flow for a sales process. It's up to you to improve it. It's up to you to use automation to create all this stuff that I created manually. But you have what it takes to become a Salesforce Sales Cloud consultant. However, your knowledge of this is limited to your ability to design a solution. So if you are keen on improving and you want to maybe help Blackforce to build a robust sales process, you're welcome. However, everything I ask you to do in your project, in your work experience, is as a result of my own approach, my own design thinking. But you could come up and say, okay, I'm proposing this solution to Blackforce, and I feel we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And you're not following my own blueprint, but you're coming up as a consultant. You have a sandbox. You can demonstrate that to me and say, okay, this is my experience so far, and I want to assist Blackforce in improving their sales process such that whenever you have a corporate business, you can track the life cycle and you can deliver a seamless sales process that would make Blackforce profitable and the corporate business happy with our system, okay? This is Salesforce. Salesforce is very huge. You just need to know where to connect those dots and how to use the features effectively. If you need any guidance, always remember the help.salesforce is where all those conditions, all those things you cannot do, that's where it's been stored. So you should always read from the help.salesforce documentation regarding which product of interest or the product of interest you're looking out for, okay? I think that's all from me. If you have any questions, please indicate by raising your hand so I can quickly address them. Otherwise, we can end the class, but I would like to give you 1 or 2 things about certifications, but we can end the class for tonight. Any questions so far? Do you guys have any questions regarding what I've shown you? I know it's very simple or it's very easy when I demonstrate it, but trust me, when you have to design it yourself, it might not be that straightforward, okay? Please indicate by raising your hands if you have any questions before we move on. Do you guys have any questions? Does this make sense? Can you guys implement this if required at work? Okay, so if you guys do not have any questions, I think we're going to end it for tonight, but I want to end this video and show you the certification stuff, okay? Give me 1 minute. That's it from me. Take care, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye. Okay,